I recognize the honourable member for Dartmouth North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are debating this bill today because we still have not stopped the ongoing practice of police street checks, a practice that is known to be a discriminatory practice and have negative impact on the lives of African Nova Scotians. So I want to begin by noting that the NDP is an all-white caucus, and we are in a majority all-white legislature. So I'm not trying to speak from any moral high ground today. I want to acknowledge the privilege that has brought me to this position and given me this platform to speak. And I continue to benefit from the histories and ongoing practices that make it easier for me to be in this position that I'm in today. I in no way want to speak for the African Nova Scotian community. I think striving to follow the principles of allyship, however, means that white people like me need to speak up and amplify and affirm African Nova Scotian voices on issues of racism and not shy away from that duty. I think being white is doubly important, that I use this platform to understand, to amplify, and to act on the concerns and the ideas coming to me and to our caucus from African Nova Scotian people. And so the NDP caucus and I are using the tools we have to say this: we need to turn the attention of this whole House to stopping discriminatory police street checks in Nova Scotia. I'm going to talk about how we have known the discriminatory impacts of street checks in Nova Scotia for a long time, and we have done nothing about it. Consecutive governments have delayed taking action or ignored this issue, and that includes the NDP government. So I am calling that out, not to try to call out this government or anyone in this House in particular, but to call us all out. Because we all bear responsibility, and I want to challenge us to do better and to act now. I think we can recognize that inaction in the past does not need to justify inaction in the present. And so we are debating this bill today because we still have not stopped discriminatory practice of police checks that negatively affect, we know, African Nova Scotians more than anyone else in this province. It has been 15 years since Kirk Johnson won his human rights case resulting from a street check. It's been over a decade since Halifax police began collecting statistics that showed that Black Nova Scotians are 3 times more likely to be street checked. It's been over a year and a half since the CBC broke the story on that statistic, and before that, and since, many African Nova Scotians have been calling for an immediate end to street checks. When the United Nations Working Group of Experts on People of African Descent toured Canada and stopped in Halifax, it recommended ending carding and street checks. We do not have any excuse for why police street checks are continuing when we have known that their harmful impact for so long. And we also know that they do nothing to help prevent crimes in our community. Social worker Robert Wright has signed a letter, along with many other African Nova Scotian people, over a year and a half ago, calling for an immediate end to street checks. He said that every time an African Nova Scotian is stopped and questioned when they have done absolutely nothing illegal, it is a reminder to a Black citizen that their full citizenship is not yet accepted in this society. The petition circulated by the Working While Black organization says that the discriminatory impact of street checks on Black Nova Scotians, quote, causes psychological drama, perpetuates negative correlations between criminality and race, decreases trust in the judicial system, and disempowers Black communities to live safely and free of racism. Every day that we let street checks continue, we perpetuate these harmful impacts. I appreciate that study and consultation can make sure that we have solutions that are specific to Nova Scotia. But there is no reason something that is known to be harmful and discriminatory to Nova Scotians should continue while that study continues. I appreciate that Scott Wortley's study is being thorough and thoughtful, But we know that the report will be finished now at the earliest in January, and I wonder how long it will take the government to act on that report. Many community members have expressed to me that they are experiencing consultation fatigue. They are asked again and again to take time out of their lives to share the negative experiences of police checks that they have had over and over again. And they do this without seeing any results. A year ago, journalist Julia Simone Ruckers wrote about this. She wrote, quote, "Over and over, racialized communities are asked to chronicle the dehumanizing violence they live every day. Over and over again, they oblige, but nothing changes. Why can't we hear them?" I understand the intention of an online survey Mr. Wortley has recently released, but I am concerned that it is yet another demand on African Nova Scotian people to prove their trauma. 50 questions to describe a person's feeling of being targeted by police because of their color. I also don't see what security measures are in place to guard against the online survey being filled out disingenuously. Because I don't think we need to be asking African Nova Scotians to testify again and again, and that we should be listening and hearing them, and that we should listen and hear them the first time they speak, I want to repeat for the record again some of what we have already heard. Sylvia Paris, who is a past member of the Halifax board, she's a past board member of the Halifax Police Commission, and now she's the CEO of the Delmore Buddy Day Learning Institute. She called for an immediate moratorium on street checks. Lana McLean, a social worker, describes how her nephew was stopped by police biking down North Street on his way home from school. She talked about how early exposure to police street checks sets up a dynamic of mistrust and makes Black Nova Scotians feel like they're criminals. Ishmael Beals reports that he is pulled over at least once a month. A community member named Tom, who preferred not to share his last name, talks about being harassed and followed by police when bringing home his groceries. He said, "Maybe it's the organic bananas that I buy." Marcus James, founder of 902 Man Up, helped develop recommendations for the police back in 2003 that still have not been implemented. He talks about being questioned by the police on repeated occasions when he's closing up the North End Library after community meetings. These are just a sampling of the many voices saying there is plenty of evidence that street checks need to end now. The last time I had an opportunity to speak about street checks in this House, I ended with the words of Sergeant Robin Atwell, a Black police officer in Halifax. And I will end with them again today because they remain as true today as they were then. Sergeant Atwell says, "This practice is wrong, it's not effective, end it." Thank you.